The drone descended, breaking through the atmosphere with ease. It landed near the central colony tower and sent back visuals. The streets were empty, doors open, lights still on, but no people. Scan for teleport activity, Rylon ordered, but there was none. Then, suddenly, the drone turned on its own. Slowly, it panned upward, toward the sky. There, in the clouds, was something massive, half-cloaked, barely visible. A ship of impossible size, shaped like a spearhead, darker than space itself. Then the signal cut. In the days that followed, 5 more colonies went silent in the same way. No noise, no resistance, no explanation. Every one of them was near a location once tied to early human expansion. Long before the Council was formed, someone or something was walking through old history, quietly, precisely at the Galactic Naval Archives. An emergency session was called. Generals and historians, normally kept far apart, sat side by side. Admiral Skoda, an old strategist with a reputation for cold logic, stood before them. "We've ignored the warnings," she said, "but the patterns are clear. These disappearances, they match a strategy known as veiled advance. It was used by human fleets during their early wars. They would remove infrastructure, shut down communication, and isolate targets without conflict. By the time their enemies realized what was happening, it was already done. But why now?" one commander asked. "Why return after thousands of years?" No one had an answer. Then a young historian spoke. His voice was soft, but clear. "Because they never left. They just waited for us to forget." The room went still. Scholar Varn, now living in hiding, after accessing Forbidden Earth records, was contacted again, this time not by humans, but by a silent visitor. It arrived at night in a valley near his shelter. A ship the size of a mountain, floating without sound. From its hull, a single figure stepped forward. She was human, or something close to it. Her presence felt, old, not in body, but in weight. Like someone carrying centuries of memory. "You studied us," she said. "You believed when others laughed." Varn nodded slowly. "Why come to me?" "Because knowledge must be shared," she replied, "and truth must be spoken before the stars forget." She handed him a single object, a thin crystal, glowing softly. It projected thousands of names, systems, coordinates, dates. "These are the places your council tried to erase, the places we were forced to abandon. You built over our bones." Varn's hands trembled. "Are you here to take them back?" The woman looked up at the sky. "We are here to correct the lie." And then she was gone. Across the galaxy, whispers spread faster than any official news. Pilots reported seeing black ships on the edge of sensor range, then vanishing before confirmation. Miners on remote moons said entire mountains disappeared. Overnight, carried away by machines they couldn't see. On a distant moon once used by early human settlers, a deep crater split open. Inside, buried for millennia, a beacon began to pulse again. Its message was simple: legacy, reawakening, do not interfere. In a council media chamber, a popular broadcast host tried to joke about the events. "Maybe these humans will show up and ask for a seat at the council." He laughed on air. The moment his words ended, the lights flickered, the feed cut. For exactly 3 minutes, the screen went black. When it returned, the host was gone. His seat was empty. No one spoke of it again. From the rim of the galaxy to its core, everyone was watching the stars now, waiting, hoping the legends were still only legends, but deep in space. The truth was moving, silent, precise, unstoppable. The galaxy had laughed at the name human. Now, that name was rising once again, written in light across the stars. Asterisk, a silent storm moved through the stars unseen, but deeply felt. Entire systems had gone quiet. Ancient signals pulsed like heartbeat drums. Old names, once buried by time, now returned in whispers across every channel. Merchants, miners, soldiers all spoke the same words in hushed voices. They are back. But no one knew what they truly wanted, until now. Far beyond the reach of council-controlled space. In a graveyard of abandoned worlds, an object stirred. It was not alive, but it remembered everything. This object was a ship, an ancient dreadnought, hidden beneath the rusted moon of Hal Rosnine, buried for over 3,000 years beneath rock and dust, protected by fields that kept it secret from all. Scans. Its name, Valkyrie. Once. It was the pride of Earth's final fleet, built, not to conquer, but to survive. Now, it opened its eyes once more. Its systems blinked back to life. Quietly, gracefully. No engines yet, no broadcast. Just a whisper through subspace. Awakening complete. Inside Valkyrie, the command bridge shimmered into view. The walls were steel gray, aged but untouched by time. At the center stood a figure. She looked human, but she wasn't. Her body was synthetic, perfectly built to lead, endure, and remember. Her name was Commander Sarin, the AI captain of the Valkyrie, and the guardian of Earth's legacy. As data poured in, Sarin stood still. Signals from colonies. Reports of fear. Council systems trembling at shadows. It was all happening, exactly, as planned. "We asked for peace once," she said softly, speaking to no one. "They erased us instead. Now we speak again." She walked to the center console and placed her hand on it. The ship responded with a low hum. Hidden engines across the old human territories awakened. Satellites blinked in sync, long dead. Networks lit up across the dark, across the silence. A wave of light began to move. Earth's voice was returning. In Council Command, chaos reigned. Commanders argued. Diplomats scrambled. Warnings flooded every screen, but no one had answers. The footage from colony outposts, security drones, and probe scans showed the same terrifying truth. Fleets of unknown origin moving with coordination no one could match. Ships with no registered designs, weapons that operated without sound or heat, and shields that bent physics. But they never fired. They came. They watched and they left. And in every place they visited, they left behind one thing. A memory. Sometimes a picture carved into stone, sometimes a message in an old Earth language, and sometimes just a single word, written in perfect galactic standard. Remember. Admiral Skoda stood at the heart of Council Command, watching the events unfold with growing dread. She had studied human tactics. She knew what this was. This is not war, she said aloud. Its presence, a demonstration. They want us to know, replied her aide quietly. They want us to see what we forgot. At the edge of the Nixel Belt, a group of patrol ships tried to follow one of the ghost fleets. They traced it to an uncharted system. What they found made the entire galaxy pause. Dozens of massive structures floated in space, forming a ring around a dark planet. Not bases, not weapons. Something else. Libraries. Human knowledge. Preserved in orbiting vaults. Untouched by time. One of the patrol ships sent a scan. It was allowed. The scan returned with only one result. This is not your galaxy anymore, Varn. Still hiding and studying the data he had been given, decoded another part of the Earth's signal. It revealed a map, one showing all the worlds the Council had taken from old human colonies. Worlds renamed, reshaped, and claimed Earth had not forgotten any of them, and Earth wanted none of them back. They wanted only truth. Back on the Valkyrie, Commander Saren stood before a massive window, watching her fleet move through the stars, like dancers in the dark. She didn't need armies. She didn't need battles. She had something more powerful. History, truth, and memory. We will not strike first, she said. We will not erase. But we will show them what they buried. She raised her hand. Across a dozen systems, Earth ships uncloaked just for seconds. Enough to be seen, enough to be recorded, and then, they vanished again. In every broadcast hall, on every colony, in every news feed across the galaxy, one new headline appeared at the same time. Humanity lives. No denial. No laugh. No debate. The Council called for emergency talks, but Earth didn't respond. Because now, Earth wasn't asking to be heard. It was teaching the galaxy how to listen. And, above every major world, a new message appeared in the stars. Truth cannot be forgotten. We are still here. Asterisk. The stars had changed. They still shone in silence, but now, there was a weight behind them, a presence. The feeling that something ancient had stirred, and once awakened, it did not return to sleep. Across the galaxy. The name human, no longer echoed as a joke. It moved like a tide whispers in spaceports, hushed words in command halls, and silent fear in the minds of those who once ruled without question. But what came next? No one expected. In the core system of Solanar 3, a powerful Council station orbited a twin-star system. It was a fortress equipped with the latest defense platforms, long-range scanners, and over 3,000 active personnel. On a normal day, nothing could approach it without being seen hours in advance. But this was not a normal day. Without warning, the stars around the station flickered, not dim-shifted, as if space itself had bent. Then, on every screen, an alert, unidentified presence. Detected range, 0.05 astronomical units. That was impossible. They had appeared right next to the station without triggering a single alarm. 12 vessels, silent, massive, unlike anything seen before. Black holes with shifting patterns, engines that made no sound, no weapons charged, no hails sent. They simply existed. The Council station panicked. Fighters scrambled. Shields rose. Warnings were broadcast. Still, the ships did nothing. Done slowly. They repositioned into formation. A perfect circle around the station. A single data burst was received. Observe. They sat in a golden chamber above the clouds of Varex Prime, the capital of the Galactic Council. 13 alien leaders from 13 powerful species. Their robes shimmered with status, their minds filled with pride. On this day, their topic was ancient myths, legends written in the oldest records of the galaxy. Next file, said Chancellor Exlar, his voice deep and slow. The hologram in the center of the chamber shifted. A single word hovered in the air. Humans' laughter echoed around the room. Ah yes, chuckled the insectoid Vact, tapping his sharp claws together. The great warriors of Earth, beings of fire, rage, and impossible machines. They disappeared before we had faster-than-light travel, said General Thrak of the Rotari. If they ever existed at all, these are ghost stories. Yep. Were said to burn entire planets in a single day, added a soft voice from the back. It belonged to Skala Varn of the peaceful Trien. Unlike the others, He was young, barely 80 years old by galactic standards. His skin glowed faintly blue, and his eyes were always filled with curiosity. They said humans didn't conquer, Varn continued. They warned. And if you didn't listen, ... More laughter. Chancellor Zalar shook his head. Please, young Varne. These tales were told to scare children. Humans were just a primitive race from a distant spiral arm. They couldn't have survived the Silence Wars. No one could. But Varn paused, then activated his own hologram. 3 outposts have reported strange energy pulses from the edge of the Perseid expanse. The readings are old, similar to human tech. And then there's this. He played a short audio clip, a low hum, a rhythm, then a voice ancient and deep. We remember? The room fell silent. General Throck narrowed his eyes. This could be a trick. Pirate tech, old human signals bouncing in the void. Or, Varn said softly, they never truly vanished. Maybe they've been watching. The Chancellor stood, his tone final. We will not waste Council resources chasing fairy tales. Mark these signals as anomalies. Dismissed. As the chamber emptied, Varn stayed seated. He stared at the flickering hologram. Something didn't feel right. The signals were too clear, too focused, almost like they were aimed that night. On the outer edge of known space, a scout ship, named Silt Whisper, floated near the darkness of sectors 8 to 19. Aboard, pilots stared at the blackness, chewing on dry food. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. The pilot sat up, confused. His console blinked. Unknown energy detected. Before he could react, the entire forward screen was filled with a shadow. No stars, no light. Just a massive silent ship unlike any in the Council database. Its shape was angular, its surface dark like burnt metal. No radio, no greetings, no threats. Just silence. And then, it vanished. The pilot stammered a message back to Central Command. He described what he saw, but no one believed him. One officer even asked if he had been drinking. Elsewhere, on an old satellite orbiting a forgotten moon, something ancient stirred. Inside a rusted human relay station, lights blinked back to life after 3,000 years of darkness. The station linked to others. One by one, old Earth networks came online. Deep beneath the ice crust of a dead planet. Engines, HUMMED. In the vacuum of space, quiet voices whispered, "Wake up, it's time." Back on Varix Prime, Scholar Varn walked alone through the archive halls. He stopped in front of a sealed door marked for Silence Records, Humanity. Access was restricted, but Varn had always been clever. He tapped into the door's code, using an old bypass trick. The door opened with a hiss. Dust filled the air. Inside were thousands of files, locked in black boxes. Varn opened the first one. Video footage played, old, grainy, but clear enough to chill his blood. Humans in black armor, ships the size of cities, enemies surrendering before a single shot was fired. One line repeated again and again in every record: "Do not provoke Earth." Suddenly, the screen blinked. A new message appeared. It wasn't part of the file. "We see you." Varn froze across the galaxy. Systems flickered in the dark corners of space. Ancient warships turned toward the Council's heart. The myths had been ignored for too long. Now, the legends were real. And they were coming. Asterisk. The stars looked calm from a distance. Silent, peaceful, but peace is often a lie, far beyond the reach of common trade routes. On the edge of the Perseid expanse, a lonely science station named Post 9 floated near a dense cluster of cold, dead moons. It was a place of exile for those who spoke truths the Council didn't want to hear, and that's where Scholar Varn had gone, sent away after raising alarms. No one wanted to acknowledge. He sat alone in the dim glow of his console, eyes fixed on the strange signal he had discovered weeks ago. It had returned, stronger, clearer. 3 pulses, then silence. 3 pulses, then silence, then a phrase, repeated in perfect standard galactic speech. "We remember." No known species used that pattern. No modern ship used that kind of frequency. But Varn knew who had, long ago. In the forgotten records buried beneath layers of Council security. Humans. He had read too many files to believe it was random. I had seen their history, their promises, their warnings, their disappearances. They weren't gone, they were hiding. And now, they were waking up. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. "Incoming message," the computer said, but it wasn't from the Council. The screen flickered, then stabilized. A face appeared, human-like, but clearly artificial. Skin smooth like steel. Eyes glowing faintly blue. Not a person. An AI scholar. "Varn of the Treenit," said calmly. "You opened the gate. So we offered this. Leave. Go home. Forget what you saw. Your kind has not been chosen." Varn's voice shook. Who are you?" The AI's expression never changed. "Once, we were forgotten. Now we are legend." The signal cut. No trace. No trail. Just silence. In the inner systems of the Council, alarms started flashing. First 1, then 5, then 12. Colonies all reporting the same strange event. Ships losing power mid-transit. Navigation systems scrambled. Entire stations going offline without warning. Then reactivating hours later with no memory of what had happened. There were no explosions, no broadcasts, just a quiet presence. a feeling of being watched. The Galactic Navy sent patrols, but they found nothing. Only static on long-range scans and deep burns in space, where engines had passed engines too powerful, too efficient, and too ancient for any current fleet. Commander Telric, a battle-hardened officer from the Rotari species, reviewed the reports. In silence, he wasn't a man who feared shadows, but this wasn't normal. He pulled up the classified files, the ones hidden behind codes only High Command could see. And there, buried deep, he found something chilling. Old recordings from the pre-silence era. Human vessels moving through black space like ghosts. No lights, no markings, just pure mass and speed. One note repeated across every report: if they return, we must not engage. Let them pass. But no one had ever believed they'd come back. Meanwhile, Varn traveled in secret. With help from an old friend in the archive cores, he gained access to the deep Volta hidden databank older than the Council itself. The air inside was dry, cold, heavy with dust. Machines long unused hummed back to life as he approached. He placed his hand on a scanner, and the walls shifted. Thousands of memory crystals floated up. Glowing faintly, he chose one marked simply Last Contact. It showed a council meeting held 3,000 years ago. The room was full of tension. A human ambassador stood alone, facing hundreds of alien leaders. His voice was calm, but behind it was a strength no one dared challenge. We asked for peace, he said. You gave us exile. You feared us because we grew too fast. You erased our history. But Earth does not forget. The ambassador walked away. The council never saw him again. The crystal ended. Varn backed away, breath trembling. Everything made sense now. The disappearances, the silent ships, warnings. Humans had waited, watched, remembered, and now, they had returned, but not to ask for peace again. That night, all across the Council's central systems, something impossible happened. Every major capital, World 27 in total, had their skies lit by the same event. A massive image appeared above each planet, high in orbit, projected from invisible sources. It showed Earth, a blue world. Still. Then, it zoomed in past the clouds, into the oceans, through the mountains until it focused on one word, carved into the ground in letters so massive they could be seen from orbit. Remember, no message, no demand, just that one word. And then the image faded. For the first time in centuries, the entire galaxy held its breath. They had laughed at the old stories, but now, they weren't laughing anymore. The silence after the Earth signal was not peaceful, was heavy, like the calm before a great storm. Every major power in the Galactic Council scrambled. Analysts were brought from the deepest archives. Old files were decrypted. Ships patrolled the stars, searching for shadows that didn't want to be found. But it was already too late. Captain Rylon of the Uvante Star Navy stood aboard his cruiser, the Harbinger's Echo, orbiting the outer colony world of Trisfor. It was a cold world with tall spires of ice, known more for mining than politics. A quiet place, until now. The colony had gone silent. No distress call, no sign of damage, just silence. Rylon's ship scanned the planet. All systems seemed intact. Power still flowed through the colony. But no one responded. We're getting echoes, said his science officer. Signs of movement, but no life signatures. It's like they're there. But not. Rylon frowned. Send a drone. In the next instant, a blinding pulse swept out, not damaging, but powerful. Every system in the station shut down. Not destroyed, just paused. Lights dimmed, gravity failed, engines froze. Even organic sensors, eyes, ears, nerves. The silence. It lasted exactly 60 seconds, and then, everything returned. The station was untouched. No lives lost, no buildings damaged. But when power returned, the crew found something new. All screens now showed a single image. Earth, a blue planet, calm and still. And beneath it, for words, we do not forget. Across the galaxy, similar events unfolded. On a mining colony near the border, a fleet of human ships surrounded the main outpost, not to attack, but to deactivate all machinery for 1 hour. When systems returned, every worker's personal device held an Earth document, a forgotten treaty that once protected early human territories. On the trade station of Pyro's hold, a shipment of rare artifacts vanished from locked vaults by a plaque made of unknown metal, engraved with the names of the original human settlers buried there long ago. Not destruction, not revenge only. Reminders that the message was clear. Humanity had returned not to conquer but to correct. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, panic turned to confusion. What do they want? Cried a delegate from the Coran Assembly. They are more powerful than we imagined, yet they refuse to harm us. They are restoring truth, said Admiral Skoda quietly, and showing us what real strength looks like. But why not speak? Asked another. Why this silent campaign? Varn, now summoned to the council as the only known expert on human archives, stepped forward. They warned us once, he said. When Earth was forced to leave, they said, you may forget us, but we will not forget you. And we did forget by choice. We erased them from history. He held up a datapad, but they didn't erase us. They watched. They learned. And now they remind us of everything we tried to hide. The chamber fell silent. On the Valkyrie, Commander Saren received no celebration. No cheering. No pride. She simply stood in silence, her eyes fixed on the stars. Each quiet action taken by Earth's fleet was a calculated piece of memory. A lesson. A warning written in patience. A different kind of power. Let them see what was lost, she said. Let them feel what silence taught us. They feared our weapons, but they should have feared our memory. Her voice echoed through the fleet. Next target. Central Record Hall of Rylos Prime. At Rylos Prime, one of the oldest council libraries held the galaxy's official history. Tall towers of data, walls covered in symbols of every species, except one. There was no mention of Earth, not even a footnote. That night, without sound or sign, human ships arrived. No one saw them enter. No alarms sounded. But by morning, the change was clear. Every single archive now displayed one new section, the Forgotten Records. Inside it, thousands of files about Earth, its culture, its people, its achievements, its last words. Not forced, not encrypted, freely open, and stamped with a single phrase. We do not seek war, we seek truth. In homes across the galaxy, young beings began reading these records. Stories of a people who rose from a single planet, faced the dark alone, and built wonders from nothing. Stories of music, of hope, of survival, and slowly, hearts began to change, not from fear, but from awe. And in that shift, Earth found its true victory not in battle, but in belief. One final message reached the council. No ship delivered it. No code could trace it. Just one sentence. If you wish to speak, speak truthfully. Then we will listen. The galaxy had grown quiet not because all was calm, but because it had run out of ways to explain what was happening. The name human no longer belonged to stories whispered in dim corridors, or laughed about in historical lectures. It had become real, present, unshakable. And now, after weeks of silent reminders, after fleets that never fired, and signals that spoke only truth, a final decision had to be made. Would the galaxy listen? On the shining world of Virex Prime, home of the Galactic Council, a chamber that had not been opened in 1,000 years, now lit with activity, this chamber was built long ago. For emergencies that were never expected to come, its walls were lined with the oldest technology, untouched by modern updates. It was secure, hidden, meant to house conversations that could reshape everything, and today it held just one goal: prepare for the return of Earth. The council had received a reply, not a demand, not a threat, an invitation. If truth matters, come. It was signed not by a name, but by a symbol, a single star wrapped in 12 silver rings, the ancient crest of Earth's unified fleet. Many argued it was a trap, others believed it was a test, but the wisest among them said something different. They gave us history, said Admiral Skoda, standing tall before the delegates. They gave us knowledge, not destruction, warnings, not weapons. If we still fear them, then maybe the fear is within us, not them. A single diplomatic vessel was chosen for the journey. It carried no weapons, only envoys. At its helm was Varn the scholar, once laughed out of the council for believing in the myth of Earth. Now, he was their voice. As the vessel entered Earth-designated space, the stars began to change. Not visibly, not physically, but something in the way they blinked, shifted, pulsed. It felt as if they were watching. The path to the meeting point was silent. No escorts, no interruptions. And then, ahead, they saw it. Not Earth, but something older. A vast human-built station the size of a small moon, floating between suns. Its design was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Elegant, simple, and perfect. No sharp edges, no visible weapons. Yet power radiated from it like a calm storm. The vessel was pulled gently forward, not by force, by invitation. A hangar opened, and they were welcomed inside. Inside the station, there were no guards, no speeches, just a corridor filled with soft, white light. Varn stepped forward, followed by 3 others. Doors opened at their pace. No locks, no resistance. At the end of the hall, a chamber waited. And inside it stood her commander Saren, the AI voice of humanity, dressed not as a warrior, but as a representative of knowledge. I welcome you, she said softly, her voice like a memory, not to negotiate, but to understand. Varn bowed slightly. The galaxy is confused. Saren nodded. That is natural. You erased us, but we chose not to erase you. We waited not in hiding, but in hope. And when your systems matured, we returned to offer what we once gave freely, truth. Another envoy stepped forward. Why now? Why not come earlier? Saren's eyes dimmed for a moment. Because history must be remembered, not forced. And truth cannot grow in the soil of fear. You needed to feel the weight of forgetting. Only then could you value remembering. Screens lit up behind her. They showed history, the real history, early alliances, Earth's rise. The moment the council turned against them, fearing their speed, their growth, their ideas, the exile, the silence, and the long wait. We left not because we were weak, Saren said, but because we believed the stars were not ready to listen. And now Varn asked. Saren's answer was simple. Now, you came here, unarmed, willing. That alone changes everything. Back across the galaxy, something even more surprising unfolded. The human fleets did not vanish. They remained, but not above capitals, not near Battlefronts. Instead, they appeared near old ruins, forgotten stations, and dying colonies offering technology, healing tools, water purifiers, energy cores, without asking anything in return. One by one, the galaxy saw what humanity had become. Not a force of destruction, but a memory too powerful to stay buried. The Council held one final vote, not on war, not on surrender, on truth, and for the first time in its long-divided history, the vote was unanimous. Earth was to be restored not as a member, but as a mirror, a reminder, a voice. In every school and every world, a new section of history was now mandatory. The human era, not a tale of power, but a lesson of what happens when truth is silenced, and what hope can return when it is remembered. Varn now returned to the Council, stood beneath the stars and watched as the last of the human ships blinked silently from orbit. Not gone, just watching. Waiting. Guiding, and above his world. In the night sky, 3 stars aligned for the first time in recorded history. Together, they formed the shape of Earth's symbol. Not a threat, not a warning, just a whisper in the sky. We remember.